Okay, for number 13, again, we get all terms on one side. Because we only see sine, we can pretend it's 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. We're looking for a combo that multiplies to 2, that adds to 3, 1, and 2. So we put those numbers here. Right, you could write x plus 1, x plus 2. You then have to put your factors over the front number, which is a 2. Simplify, swing out. 1/2 doesn't simplify, so the 2 comes in front of the x. 2 over 2 simplifies to 1. And then you need to make sure you reinsert sine. That's how we end up with 2 sine x plus 1, sine x plus 1. You set each factor then equal to 0 and solve. So when we subtract 1 and divide by 2, we get -1/2. So on the unit circle, where is sine -1/2? Well, not in the first quadrant, not in the second quadrant. In the third quadrant, you have a sine -1/2 right at this spot. So remember, I always work with the first quadrant and I start reflecting that dot to 4 spots. So it's not in the first or the second, but we use the reflection to help us find our last angle. So if this is 30, this is 60. Reflect 60. So this is 30, then we reflect that's 30. And that's how we know what the degree is of this dot right here. It's 180 plus that little sliver 30, which gets us 210. Then in the fourth quadrant, when we reflect, we take 270 and we add this little sliver 60, and that's how we end up with 330 degrees. Then over here, when we solve, we're looking for where the sine's -1, and it is only -1 at 270 degrees. So for this last problem, number 21, you get all terms on one side. We don't have to use any identities for replacement. If you try to factor, though, 4x squared minus 4x minus 1, it's not factorable. No combo multiplies to -4 that adds to -4. But we can use the quadratic formula. So a is 4, b is -4, c is -1. Remember, it's negative, then you insert b, plus or minus square root, b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. When we simplify, we get 4 plus or minus square root 32 over 8. When you put square root of 32 in your calculator, you get about 5.367. We're starting to round. So then we do 4 plus 5.67 divided by 8, which gets us 1.2. And we do 4 minus 5.67 divided by 8, which gets us -0.2. Now, then you say to yourself, okay, sine x equals 1.2, approximately, sine x, approximately -0.2. If you recognize that these values are not on the unit circle, that's when you use your calculator. First of all, we know there's an error here because this is larger than 1, can't be. -0.2 is not on our unit circle. It was an approximation, so we're using our calculator. Put your mode in degrees, and we're going to do sine negative first at -0.2, and when we do that, we get about -11.5. So we're going to say -11.5 degrees, and we'll also do 360 minus 11.5 degrees, which is 348.5.